Why are all humans equal? That's a very interesting question that I've asked some of my friends. And I think we'd all agree that all humans are equal in the right to live. And they should all have an equal chance for a future and an equal chance to live and survive and at the very least experience the things of life. If you look at the children in Gaza that are being bombed, I think we all would have sympathy because they're not getting that right to live. And we think that is an injustice against them, right? But the why is the big deciding factor and the big dividing thing that changes how people see things and the way the society runs and whether there's segregation or not. The why has been the determining factor for why we had things like slavery, because people thought that skin color was what made people equal. So it's interesting. But I'll go into two different models where you could think about this. First of all, comparing two humans, and the second model being comparing humans to some sort of higher order. I think those are the two primary ways people have gone about thinking about this question. So I'll dive into the human to human comparison firstly. In my opinion, the human to human comparison fails to truly solidify rights for humans, in that it's not that people can't think about it in a way that does give all humans an equal right, but it's because it allows for other arguments to say otherwise. Human to human is the model that slavery was based off of, because they saw two humans, and if one wasn't white, then instantly that person isn't equal anymore. They compared skin colors. And we think that is an injustice because they don't have any control over that, right? They can't control that what skin color they were born. So simply because they were born another way, it's just wrong. So some people go on to say that, because we're all born the same and we're made with the same right to live, that, we can all think, we can all be conscious that we all have these things that make us human. That's why we are all equal and we have this right to live. Yeah, that's not wrong. But when you think in the same realm of that, when you think in a way that compares humans, and obviously when the person standing there is a human doing the comparing, and they base it off some sort of subjective metric on what they personally think, that becomes very easy to be corrupted and changed based on human emotions and feelings. I think it is a great, great mistake to do so. Because then if you can convince the large populace to think in such a way that we're all made equal because we can all think and we experience the things that humans experience only, it just takes one group of people to slowly spread a message. It's how, Nazism started. Hitler was an incredibly smart and calculating person. He got into a place of power where he can convince people and change their minds to think in such a way. In the modern day, it's become a lot harder, but with AI, I wouldn't be so sure that we're completely bulletproof and safe against such things. So it's to say that it's not to say that you can't find a way that is right and I think is very valid about why we are to live, but it's because of the reasons that could arise for why humans are equal. Which is why I think we always, always need some sort of objective metric rather than some subjective one based on the thought of a couple guys or some pretty smart people coming together. Because at the end of the day, subjectivity is not what we want to base our society and very important things like the right to live on. I'm going to bring back the example of slavery into here. The only reason why I think slavery was actually abolished was because Martin Luther King decided to bring God into his speech. One of the main pivotal points for why his speech was so convincing because he stated that we are all sons of God, that God made us all equally right. So many of the reasons that people say in the person-to-person comparison of why humans are right, and I think most of us would agree on, comes from the Bible, comes from God, right? So even if they say they're doing it based on some subjective metric, it's still ultimately from God, whether they realize it or not. So at the end of the day, the only way it could work and ever say that all humans are equal is because of God, because of what God left us in the Bible, in His wisdom. And this is why I will continue to stress that the only way a society can function, regardless of you like it or not, is with a God or some higher power. Without it, it doesn't function. So much of the Western society is in order because of the Judeo-Christian influences on our laws, on our culture, on our society. So I hope that this video was a little interesting or at least a little thought-provoking, because I think when it comes to saying that something is absolutely objective, it's a little frightening to say that, but from my perspective and the things that I've read and I've seen and thought through in practicality and in a vacuum, it's the only way it could work. It's the only way it could work in a society. If you don't see things in an objective view, you will never ever come to a conclusion. People will just continue arguing with one another, and that's the problem with subjectivity. People can't come to a conclusion, and that's where problems arise. If you give people the ability to argue, they will argue. They will say things that are absurd and dumb, just straight up wrong. But if you just But if you don't give that an ability to argue and everyone universally agrees that there is some objective truth, that's when a society can actually move forward and look to other issues. But if you do have any questions or rebuttals to what I've said here in this video, feel free to let them or leave them in the comment section down below, right? I'm very open to having a open discussion, talking to some of you. If you don't like what I said, feel free to absolutely think about some of the arguments that might go against it. I like these sort of discussions, and I hope that some of you watching would engage with me in such discussions. But yeah, that'll be about it for me here in this day. I hope y'all have a good day so far, and this was maybe like a small break for you to just get your mind flowing. It's always good to think a little. But yeah, God bless you. See ya.